I'm Nintendo.
And I'm SEGA. This is Console War!
Man, it's been a while.
Yeah, getting COVID was really rough. But now, we're back and better than ever.
Cheers to that.
Oh, hells yeah.
Did you just drink barbecue sauce?
Oh, I thought this was my beer. I guess I still can't taste anything from having COVID.
Can you not read and realize your beer felt like gravy?
Hey, it's been a stressful couple weeks. I just need to unwind.
True. Let's just relax and watch some old Perfect Strangers reruns.
Alright. I mean, we both beat COVID. It's not like things can get much worse.
This just in. Things got worse. Much, much worse. An asteroid is headed right towards Earth. Citizens are implored to take refuge in their local doomsday shelters.
We have local doomsday shelters?
Yes, you have local doomsday shelters.
How much time do we have?
Sources confirm the asteroid will be here in 1 week.
Well, what do we bring?
Local shelters are limiting 1 suitcase per household.
Can she hear us?
Shelters are serving tater tots, but they're first come, first serve, so get there quickly. And no, I can't hear you.
We gotta get to that shelter.
Yeah, let's start packing. There we go. All the essentials are packed. I don't know. I feel like we're still missing something.
Dude, we didn't pack any video games.
Oh, you know what? We have room for a mini console. That way we have multiple games, too.
Oh, perfect. I'll just pack this and we'll be on our way.
Why?
I was just gonna pack the SEGA Mini. An excellent mini console.
The Super Nintendo Mini is way better.
What? That's it! We doing this?
Are the fingerprints of a koala so indistinguishable from a man that they've been confused at crime scenes? They are. Best mini console!
The Super Nintendo Classic Edition was released in 2017. It was developed by Nintendo PTD. It uses a Linux operating system and runs emulators developed by Nintendo's European Research and Development. There were versions for Japan and Europe, but today, we're looking at the one made for North America.
The SEGA Genesis Mini was released in 2019. It was developed by SEGA. It uses a Linux kernel operating system and runs emulators developed by M2. There are versions for Europe and Asia, but we're looking at the one made for North America. 2 mini consoles. Which one's better? Let's find out.
The Super Nintendo Classic is pretty.
With a length, width, and height of 5 1/4, 4 1/4, and 1 1/2 inches, the Super Nintendo Classic is about 1/7 the size of the original console. It's an identical miniaturized version. The power and reset buttons work just like the original, and the controllers look like an exact copy. Can you tell which is which?
My console's got that beat.
With a length, width, and height of 6, 4 1/2, and 1 1/2 inches, the SEGA Genesis Mini is roughly 55% the size of the original console. It looks identical as well. The power and reset buttons also work on this console. And matching controllers, you got it. Which one's which?
That big bulky thing looks ridiculous next to mine. And it's missing something.
The Genesis has a headphone input. The Mini? Don't.
Yeah, but it's still a more authentic copy than yours.
Sure, it doesn't have the headphone jack, but it does come with an adjustable volume knob. And most impressive, the slot for video games actually opens. The Super Nintendo slot? Don't. Also, the eject button on Super Nintendo Classic doesn't move at all. And here's the nice attention to detail. The Genesis has an expansion port that connects to the Sega CD. The Super Nintendo even has one that was supposed to connect to the never-released CD expansion. The Genesis Mini has that removable cover. Doesn't connect to anything, but it has it. The Super Nintendo Classic? Don't.
It's so cool. And with a 3D printer, I can make my console even more authentic.
It's not like it works. It's pointless.
You're just jealous because I can put so many things in my Sega. Like, I can put my dick.
Dude!
What? I was just saying I could put my Dick Grayson Lego in here.
Oh.
I can even put my Willie.
Dude!
What? I was just talking about my Willie Nelson Tougher Than Leather CD. Ow. I could also put in my Pecker.
Seriously?
What? I was gonna say my Pecker DVD. This is a great John Waters film.
Oh, this can't possibly get any worse.
Oh wait, this isn't my Pecker. I think this is my dad's Pecker.
I was wrong. Can we please just move on with the comparison?
Fine, let's just compare the controllers. Specifically, cables.
The Super Nintendo cables are about 60 inches. The Sega cables are about 75 inches, more than a foot longer. Nice.
A pointless comparison. Not everything's about size.
Oh really? Is that why you bought the extension cables?
Because I'm a collector.
It's not just the cable length, but the way that you connect the controller to the consoles is actually different.
Mini controllers go in the console just like the Genesis. The Super Nintendo Classic controllers don't. Sure, it looks like a Super Nintendo, but you can't just plug in the controllers. Instead, you need to remove the front cover. And only when it dangles there and looks completely unsexy can you plug in your controllers.
And the connectors are different too.
The Super Nintendo Classic uses the same connector from the Wii controller, so if a controller breaks, you need to buy another Super Nintendo Mini or Wii controller. The Genesis, on the other hand, uses USB. This means you can use almost any controller with a USB connection. You're not forced to buy an official Sega Mini controller. You can probably use any USB controller you have lying around.
Overall, my design's more authentic, and being able to use third-party controllers is a nice bonus.
I mean, third-party controllers aren't that great. I have a Super Nintendo one for ROMs, but it's a little laggy.
Alright, well, you don't gotta point it at me.
Why, is this bothering you?
No, it's not bothering me. Why are you holding it like that?
I thought you liked USB ports.
Look, dude, just get it out of my face!
For being more true to the design of the original, even if some of the features are purely cosmetic, for having longer cables, no eyesore of a hanging cover, and being able to use practically any USB controller, best design goes to the SEGA Genesis Mini.
In addition to games, each console has a lot of features.
And many of them are the same.
Both consoles have different filters, background frames, different languages, QR code for manuals, demos, save states, the ability to sort games, built-in reset, reset to factory settings, and legal notices that no one will read.
Although most of the features are the same, I think mine are a little bit better.
We both have filters for CRT and 4:3 ratios, but I have an exclusive Pixel Perfect option which cleans up the picture even more.
I got that beat.
First off, Sega's screen is slightly wider when you line the two screens up. And Sega has an exclusive widescreen feature. It actually looks pretty good. Things don't look stretched and nothing is cropped out.
But that's not the way the games are supposed to be seen. And I have more features.
I have more background frames, 12 as opposed to just 3 on Sega. I also have this reduced screen burn feature. That's nice and thoughtful. And both consoles allow you to sort the game by title, release date, and number of players. However, the Super Nintendo can also sort by publisher, recently played, and number of times played.
The Sega can sort by genre. The Sega also has the ability to see all the games at once. It's like I'm looking right at my game shelf. Can't do that on Super Nintendo. Plus, I have credits for all the people who worked on the mini console.
The look of my menu is much sharper.
The bottom and top of the menu look like the Super Nintendo console, and the background is an outline of the Super Nintendo console and controller. When I go to the save states, it's on the Super Nintendo cartridge. There's no Genesis design anywhere in the Sega menu.
And I have one more exclusive.
Let's talk about demos. We both have them, but I also have the option of showing gameplay from my save states. And look, Mario and Luigi team up to select the game and filter. That's charming as hell.
Alright, enough of the small stuff. Let's talk about the layout of the games.
Both consoles have the games displayed in their original boxes. The Sega tells you the number of players and the genre.
Super Nintendo tells you number of players, if you can save, and number of save states.
Seems very similar, but the Sega definitely has you beat there.
When you select a game, you get a brief summary of each title and the release date. Don't have that on the Super Nintendo Classic. And this is probably the coolest part. When I change the language, that also changes the box art. If I select Italian, then the Genesis games all turn into Mega Drive games. Japanese is the coolest because their box art is so different, and in many cases, better. The background completely changes too. You don't have anything like that on the Super Nintendo Classic.
And I want to talk about one more reason my console's better.
To exit a game on Sega, you simply have to hold start a few seconds, then select return to the main menu. Easy. To exit a game on Super Nintendo, you have to physically hit the reset button on the console.
Getting up to change games. What is this, the Middle Ages?
What are you complaining about? It's easy.
Oh, it's easy, is it? What if I'm in a Lethal Weapon 2 situation where I can't get off the couch because one of my enemies has rigged it to explode?
That will never happen.
Oh yeah, I guess I was just...
Ooh, actually, I can change games without having to get up.
If you have a Wii Classic controller, hitting the home button will take you to the game selection screen.
Don't need a fancy controller for Sega.
Fine. There's still one more thing to discuss. The save states.
Both consoles allow you to have up to 4 save states for each game. How they use the save states is very different. To save at any point on Super Nintendo, simply reset the console. Then you'll be given the option to save what you were just playing. Nice and easy. To load a game, simply select the game, press down, and choose your save state. Again, incredibly easy.
Again with the moving. Check out my save states.
Unlike the Super Nintendo, the save states aren't accessed in the menu, but in each game. When you're playing a game, simply hold start, then the menu pops up. You can either save or load.
Nice and easy, and no getting up.
That still seems like extra steps.
Like I said, to load a save state on Super Nintendo, just select a game on the menu, hit down, and load the save state. To load on Sega, you need to select the game, wait for it to load, hold start for a while, then you can load your save state. It would have been much easier and faster just to load it from the main menu. Actually, if you get up and physically hit reset, the system menu comes up much faster.
No way. Manual labor is your console's thing. I am happy to just hold down start.
Well, I still have one more feature with my save states.
When you select the save state, you have the option to watch about 40 seconds of your gameplay. This is really great if you haven't played in a while. And not only can you be reminded where you left off, but you can also jump in at any point. If you don't like something you did, just start a little sooner. The ability to rewind and fast forward makes it easy to find the perfect spot to resume. This feature of watching old gameplay and resuming anywhere you like is available only on the Super Nintendo.
Both have exclusive features, but save states puts mine over the top.
For having more backgrounds, pixel perfect picture, a way to reduce screen burn, sharper looking menu, more ways to sort, more fun with the demos, easy to access save states, videos of the save states, and being able to jump in at any point, best features go to the Super Nintendo Classic.
Alright, time to compare the games.
Yeah. How do we do that? We don't have the same games.
True, but we can compare the number of games.
The Super Nintendo Classic has 21 games. The SEGA Genesis Mini has 42, twice as many. Case closed.
Numbers aren't everything.
Oh, I beg to differ.
I have way more platformers, more fighting games, more shooters, more aerial shooters, more action games, and more puzzle games, which is easy because you don't have any puzzle games.
You don't beat me in every category.
I have more racing games and more sports games. We do have the same number of RPGs though.
So many more games. Doesn't look good for you.
I have an unreleased game.
Star Fox 2 finally gets an official North American release here.
I got unreleased games too.
Darius and Tetris never had a Sega release before.
What, an old arcade game and a game made famous on Nintendo? Real Sega classics right there.
I have plenty of Sega classics.
So many good games here, like Castlevania Bloodlines, Earthworm Jim, Phantasy Star 4, Shining Force, Sonic 1 and 2, Streets of Rage 2, Toe Jam and Earl. The list goes on.
You think that's quality? I'll show you quality.
The games on Super Nintendo are some of the best to ever come out of the console. Games like Super Mario World, Zelda: Link to the Past, Star Fox, Donkey Kong Country, Super Metroid, Super Castlevania 4, Final Fantasy 3, These are classics.
I mean, my top games are better.
No, mine are.
Alright, maybe we don't agree on that, but not all yours are winners.
Not all the SEGA games are classics. Kid Chameleon, Dynamite Headdy, Monster World 4, Super Fantasy Zone, Light Crusader, Wonder Boy, Alex Kidd. Are these really the best of what Genesis had to offer? Virtua Fighter 2? The 3D fighting game made 2D. Really? Super Nintendo Collection has top quality across the board.
Alright, they're not all winners, but I still have plenty of solid titles. Plus, I actually have more games.
Remember how changing the language changes the box art? Well, it not only does that, but it changes some of the games too. It can change the title. Castlevania Bloodlines becomes Vampire Killer. Beyond Oasis becomes Story of Thor. You can even play games without censorship, like when Streets of Rage 2 becomes Bare Knuckle 2. You get an interesting view when Blaze does a jump kick. It can change gameplay. Contra Hardcore is much easier when you play the Japanese version. No more dying in one hit. You actually have a life bar. Or it can change the game completely. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine becomes Puyo Puyo, an arguably better game. Not every game changes, but it's really fun to experience some of these games the way they are originally made.
I just have so many games.
Well, I gotta talk about one other flaw you have then. The controller.
The SEGA Mini comes with a 3-button controller. Makes sense since the Model 1 came with a 3-button controller. Authenticity, am I right? Problem is, you got not one, but 2 fighting games that require 6 buttons. Street Fighter and Eternal Champions. So those 2 games can't be played properly on the SEGA Mini.
Right, but luckily I have plenty of 6-button USB controllers.
But if you don't, that's more money you have to spend.
Maybe so, but I still have more games.
More games is nice, but my collection has better value.
Sure, it's cool that you have so many games in one collection, but you know what? It's not the first time. SEGA has officially released SEGA collections before on the PSP, the PS2, PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Nintendo Switch. That's right, I got your games too. You could argue these collections have better games. The latest collection certainly has more games, counting over 50, and it has plenty of excellent additions too. You got your save states, you can change the region for certain games. There are a bunch of extra features I don't want to get into right now. Did somebody say rewind? But yeah, they're pretty sweet. Plus, they're nice and cheap. When it comes to the Super Nintendo games, there have never been a collection like this ever released by Nintendo. And since some of these games are super expensive, I'm looking at you, Earthbound, this is definitely worth getting. The SEGA Mini, it's cool, but it's been done before. A couple of times. The multiple SEGA collections make the Mini less essential. If you like these games and wanted them in one package, to quote the Joker,
chances are you bought them already.
But you need to already own a console to play those other collections. The Mini is the complete package.
Well, Sega's done that too.
SEGA teamed with AtGames to release a SEGA console before. A few times, actually. Take your pick. And these consoles boast over 80 games. You can even play Genesis cartridges on them too. I know they're far from perfect and have many issues, but it's an option. Like I said, makes the SEGA Mini a little less essential. Again, only one way to play all these Super Nintendo games in one collection. Many different ways to get all these SEGA games.
Who would buy that garbage?
You?
All right. I gotta stop drinking and going on Amazon.
Sure, you have more games, but it's been done. For Super Nintendo games, the Super Nintendo Classic is the only game in town.
For being the only way to play this collection of Super Nintendo games, Best Games goes to the Super Nintendo Classic.
Both mini consoles are good, but one is better. And that console is the Super Nintendo Classic.
It might have limitations with the types of controller you can use and cable length, but the design is still spot on. It has better features with a sharper looking menu, more background frames, more ways to sort, the option to reduce screen burn, a pixel perfect resolution, more fun with demos, and more options with the save states. And it has the best games for being the only way to play all these Super Nintendo games in one package. The SEGA Mini is great too. If you're new to Genesis or a huge fan, definitely get it. But it's not the only way to play these games. The latest SEGA collection has more games and arguably better games. These different collections take away from the need for a SEGA Mini. It's a great console, but not essential. Nintendo has never officially released this many Super Nintendo games in one collection. That makes it essential. Best Mini Console goes to the Super Nintendo Classic.
But my console's still good.
Yeah, it's just not special. Now, back to Perfect Strangers.
An asteroid coming towards Earth.
We forgot about the asteroid!
Mark this up to an oopsie. The scientists were wrong. There is no asteroid.
Oh, that's a relief.
I'll drink to that.
Just stop.
There's no asteroid. Because it's actually an alien spaceship. Run for your lives. Protect yourselves.
Well, that's alarming.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions here. Maybe they're here to help us. Maybe they're here to help humanity take the next step forward towards a better, smarter, and more compassionate world.
And we've been taken prisoner.
Should have seen that coming.
Don't shackles seem a little primitive, though?
Really?
I'm just saying, you travel millions of light years, you have space-age technology, and shackles?
Dude, I don't know how you can be so calm. They're probably gonna take us back to their planet to eat us. And you know they're gonna eat me because I've been eating barbecue sauce all day!
It's true. Yeah, at least there's plenty of reading material. Nah.
Silence, humans, or I'll be forced to destroy you with my laser eyes. Yes, I have laser eyes.
This is all your fault. The people in the shelters didn't get captured. If we went there, we would have been fine.
Well, we would've went there, but then you had to argue about your stupid Super Nintendo Classic.
Because it's better!
Oh, you know what? I don't agree with your assessment, and I'm gonna leave a nasty anonymous comment as soon as I can.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah!
Pardon me, are you guys talking about mini consoles by any chance? I have a TurboGrafx 16 Mini. It's really awesome. We should compare that.
Shut up, nerd.
Yeah, nobody cares. No one had a TurboGrafx 16 in the 90s. Can you believe this guy?
Who does he think he is?
Let's whip them out and compare them. I think it'd be really fun.
I warned you.
Ooh.
You got Magic Guy.
Oh, nice. It's a
Dog.
Thanks for checking out our latest video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe. Support us on Patreon for earlier releases and bonus content. Thanks to everyone who suggested the mini consoles, and keep those suggestions coming, we will get to them. Also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for more Console Wars goodness. Later!
I just have so many games.